Looksmaxxing has become one of the craziest trends right now, right? Obviously, we had the red pill, we had all of these other trends that men were interested in and men got into. And now we get into Looksmaxxing, which we all know Looksmaxxing has been a thing for a while, right? A lot of men are interested in Looksmaxxing. A lot of men even ask me, like, hey, talk more about Looksmaxxing, talk more about this, talk more about that. It gets to a point where, you know, all of these trends start to fade away and there will be new figures that come up that take over these trends and bring them back. And Clavicular has been the newest face, and I think he's going to rise way bigger than Tate did, way bigger than a lot of these guys ever did, because he has a very unique personality. And don't get me, what's interesting is from a content creator perspective, I actually respect and honestly, yeah, I respect Clavicular to a certain extent. I do. I respect him a lot because he has a certain obsession that a lot of men don't have. Now, he's obsessed with some wild shit. I think it's crazy. I don't think it's actually something that's healthy at all. But again, nothing in life that's worth it is healthy, to be entirely honest with you. But I want to talk a lot about this whole Looksmaxxing thing and give you guys a good perspective on what it is. And I don't want to come in and shit talk it without backing up why I believe what I believe, right? I'm not just going to talk about Looksmaxxing without telling you guys exactly why it's created and exactly why it's a fucking psyop, because it is. It's very clear to anybody with high IQ. They know that Looksmaxxing is a psyop that is being ran on social media, in the media right now, to create an environment for men to be basically complacent, for men to basically focus on their looks and don't focus on anything else and get into high anxiety state and start to take all these drugs, start to take all these pharmaceuticals. You think this guy, Clavicular, you think he's not partnered up or going to partner up with some of the biggest TRT clinics, with some of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world to be able to funnel a lot of these young guys into starting to take all of these substances that are going to affect them in the long term. If you don't believe that, you're absolutely insane, right? So let's get into this. Now, for disclaimer, I do have ads on here because I haven't figured out how to switch my YouTube Premium to this Romanian location, so I'm figuring it out. But as we get into this, you're going to be able to understand a little bit more about him, and I'm going to break down pretty much everything he says, and I'm going to give you guys an actual experiment that's going on, that has went on in the past, that basically depicted what's going on with men right now when it comes to this whole Looksmaxxing and black pill agenda, right? So let's get into it without further ado.
At a lot more efficient rate. So, you know, skipping out on that just seemed ridiculous. I thought, why would I work out as a natural, take years to make the progress that I can make in months? It didn't make sense to me at all. I was never worried about side effects. I was just worried about progressing, right? So that's kind of always been my mentality. I'm all or nothing with everything that I do, and I just needed to do it, you know.
Was there a specific moment that you remember where you were like, yeah, I'm just going to hop on testosterone, like when you're 14?
Just
Again, hopping on testosterone when you're 14, a lot of men right now are hopping on testosterone at a very young age, right? Very, very young age, to the point where it's detrimental. Like, there's no reason for you to hop on testosterone at the age of 14. Like, I know everybody wants this like fast, and this is why he works with this generation, because he's all about instant gratification. He's all about getting what you want right now and not working for it to where you actually feel like you earned it. So you're basically going through and just basically becoming a woman and applying a bunch of cosmetics on. That's basically what Looksmaxxing is. It's applying cosmetics to hide exactly who it is that you are. And now you have this facade for years and years to come, right? So testosterone at 14 is absolutely insane.
really taking a look at, you know, what was possible in terms of time frame. I wanted to get to my goals as quickly as possible, right? Because I always thought the idea of, you know, telling people you work out and talking about all this stuff, but you're not big, to be just kind of ridiculous. It's like, dude, you know, what are you actually getting after? So I was like, I'm going to get my physique going as quickly as possible. I do not care about side effects. I don't care about any implications of, oh, this guy's using drugs. Like, none of that shit really fazed me. So
So you know why Gen Z loves him so much? It's because he's very, very bold, and he's just gonna do what he wants to do, right? He doesn't really care about the repercussions. It's almost like fast life living, right? Which again, I have nothing against fast life living, but he's doing it obviously to an extreme because he knows that social media is going to eat this shit up, right? So he's basically sacrificing himself to be able to get the views and the attention that he wants. But at the same time, he has a very, very short lifespan, which again, I don't think he cares about at all, which a lot of people don't care about, to be entirely honest, because they're like, why the fuck am I on this earth anyway? I might as well just like speed up the process and get the glory that I want while I'm on this planet. I have a certain mindset that's similar to this, but at the same time, bro, testosterone at 14 is absolutely insane.
I just wanted to, get to my goals as efficiently as possible.
All right, add out the way. Yeah, I gotta understand. I'm trying to figure this YouTube Premium
So your
out.
mom, she competed as a bodybuilder, and your dad lifts, works out. How did your parents react when you told them that you wanted to start taking tests?
Well, for a while, my parents would, go through my room and find steroids, often confiscate them. So that'd be a bit of a burden because sometimes I'd have to go like a few weeks without injecting testosterone. Well, they confiscated it. So it was hard at first, but eventually they started to realize that there was nothing that they could do about it. I was always going to do whatever it takes. So, once I had that realization, it got a little bit easier for everyone because, they stopped confiscating it and kind of just chose to plead ignorance on everything I was doing in terms of my pharmaceuticals. So that was kind of a tough thing to deal with at first, but it got easier over the years.
Of course it did.
So you were a freshman at the time?
Correct.
So freshman in high
Freshman in
school,
high
were you
school.
playing any sports? Were you looking at any of your friends that had better physiques than you? Were you kind
This is the problem right now. I'm on the cutting edge of Gen Z. I'm like literally the year of. So I'm still considered Gen Z, but I'm like on the cusp, right? That last cutoff year, 1997 is my year. When I was in high school, we didn't really have social media like that. So we didn't know all of these different substances that were being used, like testosterone or TRT, HCG, all of these different things, D-ball, Anavar. We didn't know any of that, right? So we weren't really curious about it. Now, granted, if we had social media at that time, we would 100% have looked into it. So that's the tough part about social media now. It's allowing for so much information to go past without having any sort of repercussion of how that information is being basically just used and implemented, to the point where young guys are seeing bigger guys take this and take that, and they're like, let me experiment at the age of 14, not knowing what the side effects are going to be. There are side effects to this shit. This is why I never took anything, right? Because it didn't make any sense to me. I didn't want to destroy myself not knowing what the consequences would be. Now, some people might say, bro, you're a pussy for doing that. But in reality, I'm natural and I have a better physique than him. Now, again, I'm black. I get it. I'm black. Of course, we have some genetics that are a little different, but there's a lot of black guys who don't even look like that, bro. So it's not even about that. It's about the discipline. I'm 12 years in, damn near. This guy started when he was 14 taking actual like steroids. And his physique is, to be honest, like not amazing for taking steroids, to be entirely honest with you. Let's see.
of looking at your parents' physique? Did they take testosterone? Like, what kind of really led to the decision ultimately, you think?
That's a good question. I wouldn't even say it was influenced by anyone else. It was a purely logical decision, in terms of looking at, mechanisms of action.
I got to pause just to see this. This guy literally said he has a 3-digit body count, so I'll always listen to his advice. You're actually retarded. Like, truly, you might be genuinely retarded. It's not hard to get a 3-digit fucking body count. It's not. It's not hard at all. And to be honest, it's really easy, especially when you have clout, especially when you have all that. That doesn't mean you're a better person than anybody else. That doesn't mean your advice is actually sound as a human being to another human being. 3-digit body count, what the fuck? That makes him your messiah because he has a 3-digit body count. Some shit that's easy. That's not even worth it. It's so easy that it's not even worth getting to that point. Think about that. 3-digit body count. That's what makes somebody your messiah. You're fucking cooked, bro. Fully cooked.
And things of this nature, like, if I could, increase this growth pathway by this means, then I'm absolutely going to do it. I didn't really see people like David Lade and think, oh, I want to be like this guy. I'm just like, if this makes sense mechanistically, then I'm going to do it. Like, I'm a hyper logical guy. And I don't really get influenced by other people.
Did you read about it online? Like, how did you find like how much tests you should take? Where did you buy it at that age?
So I spent a lot of time on bodybuilding forums growing up, like bodybuilding.com, things
Shit, I
like
did
this.
too.
And I did a fair bit of research. Obviously, I was, not doing enough research at the time. There's things that I messed up. But just going on forums was pretty much the main thing that got me into it at the start. I relied on a lot of popular resources like, Derek More Plates, More Dates, to kind of accumulate the knowledge required for me to be able to take a jump into this whole world of, pharmaceuticals and steroids. So that took a little while for me to kind of nail things down. But I would say that I kind of just got lucky at the start with me doing things the right way, right? Because looking back, I didn't know what I was doing, but somehow I just happened to get it right,
So how much did you take?
I started with 300 milligrams of testosterone, and I did that for a while, up until I was 16.
300 milligrams of testosterone is insane to take when you're fucking 14 years old. Like, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, this is the peak for him. Like, this is the peak of how he's going to look. It's only going to be a decline up until this point. Only a decline. Crazy. That's actually insane to think.
And then I experimented with a couple of orals. And finally, when I was 17, I began to use Masteron as well, which is a DHT derivative, because I started learning a little bit about puberty maxing. I was 16, 17.
Puberty maxing is insane. How the fuck are you trying to max your puberty levels out at 14? The fuck?
Is where I really started to kind of correct myself and get things going in the right way with, different growth hormone secretagogues and mechanisms that otherwise wouldn't have been optimized. So I started using things like aromatase inhibitors because.
Let me skip this.
Do you
Let's go get this through. What the fuck is this motherfucker on here? Bro, you need to get in shape before you run ads, G. You look crazy.
I would say no. I think I would wholeheartedly disagree with that statement. I would say that functionality is a better word than health.
I
Right?
agree. I actually fully agree with this. Like, functionality is way better than just trying to be healthy. You have way more of a chance of actually getting the look that you want as well as the health that you want if you don't focus on health itself. You're not a fucking doctor. You want to get in shape either because you want women to be attracted to you or because you want the respect of other men. If you can just follow that as your North Star, you will get in shape. You will literally have the drive to get in shape. I tell people this all the time. Focus on the shit that seems so shallow to focus on when it comes to getting in shape. Like, that's what's going to help you actually get there. Not the morality shit. Like, oh, I just want to be healthy. I want to live long so that I can play with my kids. Bro, you're fucking 25 or younger or even 30. Like, what the fuck do you care about this longevity shit? That's not enough drive for you to actually get in shape. That's my take on it. Some people won't agree. Some people are just they love to do this whole like make themselves feel good and make themselves feel moral. Fuck that. Just like do that shit for the carnal reasons that you want to do it. I did it because I wanted to be fuckable. And I was because of that. So I agree with him on this 100%.
Because it is very likely that some of my lifespan will be diminished with the
100%.
things that I'm doing. I don't believe that's from some of the steroids, but maybe some.
Let me skip this. I want to hear.
obviously you still do both, but why do you believe that face matters more than your physique?
So I started coming to that realization when I started doing massive, what's called a bulk, where you eat in a caloric surplus for the gym. And I noticed that, my treatment in my daily life from when I was a little bit leaner, just starting out in the gym, just getting a little toned, I was actually getting treated worse, even though I was getting more muscle, I was a lot bigger. And I was like, hey, what's going on? So then that's kind of where I started reading on bodybuilding.com some things about how, people would come on and shit post and troll about how the face is all that matters. And, that bodybuilding and physique, it was cope. And I was like, hey, this doesn't really make sense. And the more that I thought about it, it kind of started to make sense. Just thinking about it from a woman's perspective, realizing with my personal anecdotes, that the face is more important.
I think both are important, to be honest. The face is important for sure. But what's crazy is when you build your physique, you change your fucking face. You do. Like, I didn't do any crazy Looksmaxxing. The only thing Looksmaxxing I did was I used minoxidil for my beard. That's literally what I did. I only used it for a short period of time, maybe like 3 months or something like that. And all it did was just speed up my growth process for my beard. That's the only thing I did. But even before the beard, your boy was still pulling. Like it didn't even matter. I was lean, I had the muscle, and my face, like I had a very like dense face or like a hard face to where like because I was training so hard, because I was doing all these things, my face, my physiognomy changed because of the work that I was putting in the gym. I didn't focus on looks maxing. Now, here's the thing. When people say looks are better than physique, they're only saying that because they're following what other people are saying online. They're like, looks, and I've said this, looks are very important. They are, but you can literally manipulate the way that you look based on your lifestyle, based on how you live. I remember when I went to Marbella, there were a lot of people who looked good objectively because of their lifestyle. They had sun all the time. They had all of the good food that they need to eat. They had low stress. They had all these things. This stuff made them look significantly better. They didn't have to go through fucking jaw operations and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like it has nothing to do with that. And that goes into my point. When you start to do this looks maxing shit, basically what he's doing now, you basically turn yourself into a woman, like mentally, you do. Because the only people who care about how they look the most is women. Like I always tell even guys who work with me, right? They'll be like, man, like it's hard to talk to women. I'm like, it's fucking easy. Because if you think about it, they have to go through all this process of putting on makeup, of getting their eyebrows fixed, of making sure they have all of these things. They're looks maxing to the fucking max. Because that's what will make them feel good, and it's an effort. As a man, you don't have. That's the cool shit about being a man. You don't have to do any of that shit. You just have to put in the work in the gym. That's it, right? You have to put in the work in the gym, and your looks will start to develop over time as you actually have the lifestyle that you need to have to be able to be in a better state. You're eating better food and things like that. You don't have to be a pure pretty boy. I'm telling you, somebody who is in shape, who has an elite physique and has decent looks is going to beat out the pretty boy every time. Because the pretty boy, that literally that is genuinely like you are making yourself look like a woman, essentially. And so the whole thing with like having a pretty face, like I do believe that men who take on a lot of the traits of their mothers, like facially, because again, for me, even my facial features come from my mom. But then again, I also have a very masculine look because I've developed my body in a certain way. That's a good balance. That's a good base. If you're fortunate enough to be able to get your mom's looks to a certain extent, because me and my mom are damn near twins, right? You have more of like feminine features to a certain extent, and you also build your physique at the same time. It's game over. Now, if you don't have this, the best thing you can do is fix your physique and fix your lifestyle and fix your diet so that your face doesn't, like some guys are just playing this shit on hard mode. Have you ever seen like transformations where someone's fat as fuck and they're inflamed, their entire internal state is inflamed, and the minute that they actually get their body dialed in and they get their diet dialed in, all of the inflammation goes away, their face leans out and they look 10 times better and they never had to do a single looks maxing ritual? That's why. All right. So it's very important to get into that and understand that you don't need to fucking hammer yourself to death.
And everything started to get worse as my face got more bloated, got more acne from doing the caloric surplus. So it was a combination of those two things.
That's another thing that you guys have to understand. The bodybuilding shit is not health. Like it's not a healthy thing. It's not something that's going to make you look better from like a physiognomy perspective, like your face. It's not. That's not the point. It's just to take your body to the furthest extremes possible and sacrifice shit. It's basically like looks maxing and bodybuilding are very similar. One is basically just focusing on just your body and just maximizing that shit and just going to the extreme. The other one is literally just for your face, right? Looks maxing is essentially bodybuilding for your face. That's really what he's basically, a face bodybuilder or a face builder. Let's put it that way. That's exactly what he is, right? And it gets to a certain extent where like, bro, that the same way that people say, well, women don't like bodybuilders because they're too big. Well, women don't like overly fucking pretty guys because they're just too fucking feminine. There's no polarity at that point. You know what I mean? You have to have a balance, and you have to allow for certain like rigid, rugged, masculine features to show for you. Like I have a scar here from boxing. I'm not gonna go fucking try to take that off. It doesn't affect me. Even if I had a big gash scar on my face, that doesn't necessarily change the appeal that you have towards women because of that. You don't have to have a perfect Ken doll face unless you want to attract 14-year-olds, which I'm sure he probably likes. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make sense. And yes, Looksmaxxing definitely entails surgery as well, right? He's done a lot of surgeries on his face. He's basically the fucking Gen Z Kardashian as a male. That's fucking embarrassing. But again, that's what a lot of guys want, because a lot of guys don't understand. They don't understand the whole fucking dynamic between male and female. They don't understand that shit at all. All they understand is like, oh, this guy's popping off. Look at him. He had social media followers. He has clout. He's going and he's talking to women. Yeah, of course, he has cameras following him and he's going to approach women. Of course, women are going to think he's important. He has status. He has status. That's very simple. But there's nothing like, for all of the fucking surgeries he's done, bro. This is just pretty Squidward, to be honest with you. Pretty fucking Squidward.
Things that made me kind of reevaluate and change my course a little bit.
So if you had to give me where you spend your time, like working on, would you say it's 30% effort on the physique, 70% on the face, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
And then how limited is the average person genetically? I guess we can speak about body versus face, but can they ascend, as the Looksmaxxing community would put it, like go from like a 5 to a 7, if we're speaking like on a scale from 1 to 10, through natural methods, or do they need surgeries, medications, peptides?
So that's a really good question, and the answer isn't as simple as you think, right? So the average person can make a lot of progress. It's just an IQ issue. That's the genetic issue that we're facing, is IQ, because people aren't going to be logical enough. Like I said before, they want to live in fantasy land, so they're not going to do the things that are actually required to make the progress that's needed. So it really comes down to that. But if someone is hyper logical, doing the things that I'm doing, they can.
For the record, what he's doing is not logical at all, because you didn't even give yourself time. You didn't give your body time. You didn't give your facial features time to develop, and you basically sped up the process, which means the demise of actually going on the downtrend of this is going to be a lot sooner. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of men, they don't even max out their looks. They don't max out their body until they're like 35. If you're speed running that shit at the age of, I don't even know how old he is, 19 or some shit like that, how long do you think you have to keep that up? How many more surgeries can you fucking do until that shit starts to decline? And when you get to 35, you look like Zac Efron now. Zac Efron used to be a quote unquote attractive guy from the face. He started doing surgeries. He started doing the Looksmaxxing shit that he's doing. And now he looks literally like a fucking Michelin tire man. His face is bloated and gross. You can't fuck around with time, bro. You can't do that. You can't speed up time when it comes to your actual development. And yes, I agree. So I'm actually gonna show this because it's important. I do believe in Looksmaxxing to a certain extent. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's bullshit. There's guys who go to the extreme and say, "Oh, fuck Looksmaxxing." No, I believe that you need to, but I think it's just improving the quality of your looks, not Looksmaxxing. It's not going to the extreme, because Looksmaxxing essentially means you're going to the extreme, right? Yes, teeth whitening, skincare, grooming, 100%. I do the same shit. Of course I do the same shit. But at the end of the day, I'm not literally just micro tweaking every little detail. It doesn't fucking make sense. You can fix certain parts about yourself, of course, but to literally have jaw surgery, bro, when you can just chew on some fucking mastic gum is just crazy. It's crazy. No, teeth whitening, I know you think it's OD. It's not, bro. I think teeth whitening is actually important, because how your teeth look, that does, like, people do look at that shit. That's actually a fact. I didn't believe that shit either, but it's a real thing, bro. Like, it's a real thing. Even getting veneers, I'm not even against that shit. I would do that shit. I just don't have the patience to go through that process. And honestly, like, I don't know. But I don't mind the little minor Looksmaxxing. It's just when you go to the extreme like this, it becomes fucking insane, bro. Like, this is Frankenstein shit right
Probably go up in look scale by 30 to 40.
I literally feel like I'm listening to a woman. Like, a woman literally talks like this. A woman cares so much about, like, her appearance and the appearance of her friends. Men don't give a fuck about that. It's all about capability. You know what I mean? Capability. Oh, yes. This is, bro. Hamel, you're cold, bro. This is what I was just thinking. We're going to get into this shit. Also, no offense, their kids are going to have their original genes. Exactly. So that, but here's the craziest part about it. The whole psyop around this is so that you become infertile, because you're going to try all this shit, right? It's the same with finasteride and all this other shit. And you get to a point where you literally can't have kids. You don't give a fuck about kids. Because even internally, you know, like subconsciously, you know, your kids are going to fail the looks maxing extreme that you got to, because they're going to be born with your original genetics. That the only way you can change that shit is literally by transforming your body and your entire state through hard work. When you use surgery, it's the same way these women are getting BBLs and shit. You think their daughters are they're gonna grow up with flat asses. That's just what it is. The whole looks maxing shit doesn't even make sense from like a genetic passing on perspective, because you're only going to pass on your original. He's not changing his genetics. He's just changing the cosmetics of his face. So essentially putting on fucking makeup. That's all it is. It's just like an extreme expensive version of makeup, which women still do the shit that he's doing. He's the first man I've seen that really has taken this shit to an extreme, or boy.
Percentiles, I would say.
And then how about their physique?
Your physique, I mean, the sky's the limit with that. That's something that's, you know, almost anyone could really hit a huge increase on.
Quick one. If you agree with Clav's message and you're serious about improving your look, you guys are going to want to check out Clav's community on School. Once you're inside,
Yeah, don't do that shit.
Go.
You're about to be
If you
clipped.
struggle with focus,
You're gonna get clipped if you go into that shit and do all the shit he's doing.
Well,
One-shotted.
viral, and it'll help my career a lot. Do the double jaw surgery. It's not.
See, his whole thing is clout. He optimized for clout. And there's a lot of guys who optimize for clout, right? They optimize for clout and they get to a point where you get all the clout, you can't sustain it because another guy's going to come in and be more extreme than you do, and you're going to fall off. It's very simple. You can either optimize for clout, like top level, or you can go in depth and you can actually start to like get into like real shit that is sustainable. This shit is just a speed run to the top. But the faster you go to the top, the faster you will decline and go down. I hope he doesn't, right? Again, he's entertaining. I think his personality is actually hilarious. Again, he has this obsession that I think a lot of men need to have, just not in just feminine shit like that. You can be obsessed with other shit. But I do appreciate some aspects of him, right? I'm not going to sit here and just shit talk him the whole time, but I think his philosophy in general is something that's kind of stupid if you try to actually like implement that shit for your own life. It doesn't make sense. It's cool to watch, but it makes no sense to implement, you know? Zero
security,
sense.
right? There's nothing I can't do with my current looks package, right? I'm already having pretty much the life I want. It's just I know that, you know, the return on investment is extremely high. And I think that's true for everyone.
So walk me through, like if we take a step back.
Well, I care about my looks, and I think that my looks are very important to me. But in terms of just being happy with, you know, my romantic life, you know, I think that personality is a huge thing. So I think that
bro can't even probably get an erection anymore, to be entirely honest. It's actually insane. Like, bro literally has 0 fucking sperm left. And he's doing meth. It's fucked, bro. Like, he's extreme biohacker. Again, I respect it because he's pushing himself to his limit. But again, there's repercussions for that shit. I wouldn't tell any of y'all to do meth, by the way. I've never done that shit and I would never will. This dude's doing it. Again, it's up to him, you know? And the interesting part about it is I don't see a ton of like men who are African American looksmaxxing like that. I don't see that as much. I see that a lot with like white guys, to be honest. I don't really see it with black guys that much. Besides Austin Dunham, to be real, like that's the only one I've seen actually take that shit seriously. But looksmaxxing is kind of both. Like when you have like a masculine exterior and interior, you don't need to looksmax. You don't. Now you really need clout. You do need clout to a certain extent, right? You can't just be a no name. So he's basically doing it's the same with the self-improvement shit that I've told you guys about. Guys are pushing this whole like self-improvement monk mode and isolating it, fuck everybody and don't even be around people, etc. They're doing that because it gives them clout. And they're selling their services based on that clout that they're getting. So of course, self-improvement is going to make them rich. But don't look at that and be like, oh yeah, I need to now do self-improvement because it's going to make me rich. Same, I'm going to do looksmaxxing like clavicular because it's going to make me rich. No, it's not the case. It worked for one person. Your way might be completely different, you know? Let's see. My internet's acting crazy right now.
those are two completely separate issues. So I absolutely stand by that, you know.
Do you maybe see that as a bit contradictory, because the whole looks are the main thing that matters is based on the fact that everyone else subconsciously thinks they matter, but you yourself don't even like place that as the most important thing.
I absolutely think it could be a little bit contradictory, but
So I'm even going to pause this because I want to get into something deeper with you guys, right? I think you understand this whole Looksmaxxing thing, and some of you guys may love it. But again, I give you guys some clear warnings, like be careful with that shit. Don't take it too far. Like, yes, improve your looks in different ways. Do it naturally, you know. Like, don't go too extreme with shit. Like, make sure you're doing everything when it's based on utility. Don't just do it for cosmetics. Cosmetics are cool when it comes to your physique. That's a good reason to do it, but you'll start to realize that there are deeper reasons why it works and how it changes you internally as a person, versus Looksmaxxing just changes you externally, but then your interior is still soft and you still don't have that polarity with women, and women still don't fuck with you. There's a reason for that. Women like him because he has clout. That's the biggest reason. It's not because he looks the best, because from an objective perspective, he's not the greatest looking guy in the world, but he has clout. That's what matters the most. He has clout. He's funny. He does his shit. He has a personality. It's not just the looks. You guys think the looks actually got him to where it was. No. And yeah, Looksmaxxing has made peptides really I fuck with peptide. I take BPC 157 for my shoulder. That shit healed I don't need surgery anymore. It's actually insane. There's certain things that are actually good, but again, it's all about utility and functionality, not just cosmetics. Right? Peptides are not to get bigger. It's not to look like a fucking massive monster, right? You don't build crazy muscle with peptides like that. You just do it for functionality, right? But what I want to tell you guys, this is going to be very important too. Everything that you see with him essentially is going with the whole entire idea. And I'm going to explain this to you guys, the mouse utopia experiment. I don't think you guys understand what's going on right now with the Psyop that's going. Now we're going deep. Now I can actually, because now you guys have like a broad understanding of this whole Looksmaxxing gay shit. You have to understand the mouse utopia experiment. And I'm actually going to play this for you guys and dissect this shit. I have like about less than an hour before I get on my next client call, but it is about time for me to actually show you guys what this is about. Mouse utopia experiment, right? And you guys can watch this for yourself if I don't have enough time to explain it. But essentially, a scientist created a paradise for mice, right? Infinite food, no predators, perfect conditions, and the mice went insane and stopped reproducing, and the beautiful ones emerged. This is essentially what's going on with society right now, right? And this was literally a video just done 8 years ago. We're going to go down the rabbit hole so you guys can understand this shit, but it's fucking
If you don't
wild.
understand the rule.
The reason why this is important is because this is essentially what's going on with society right now. Society is at a point where everything is perfect. There's no issues. People are literally having like mental issues and shit like that because there's nothing to fucking worry about. There's no wars. You don't have to go out to wars. You don't have to go hunt your own food. You can go buy that shit. You can go on Amazon and get it. Everything's convenient. So now the only thing you can care about is how you look, and that can be your status symbol. So that's what's going on right now. And you'll see the demise of this shit. This is going to be wild, guys. Nobody's really talking about this shit.
Of the strange research to come out of mid-1900s America, there is little legacy as enduring or as terrifying as the mouse utopia experiments. Taking place throughout the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, the grim fate of the subjects was published in the national magazine Scientific American, and the experiments themselves were largely taken as apocalyptic portents. In a post-war United States, the language used to describe the results, such as behavior sync, became synonymous with fears of an overpopulated world and violent, deviant behavior in cities. Today, they are preserved within fiction, such as Channel 4's conspiracy thriller Utopia and the classic animated movie The Secret of NIMH.
Our world began changing.
So what were the mouse utopia experiments? Shortly after World War II, a group known collectively as the environmentalists were making a large push to prevent environmental degradation, as well as overexploitation of the planet's renewable resources. Among these people were a group specifically known as the Neo-Malthusians, a term referring to the 18th and 19th century English scholar Thomas Robert Malthus. Malthus proposed that while the world's population may increase exponentially, food production can only increase linearly, leading to an eventual subsistence-level existence for the human race that became known as a Malthusian catastrophe. While advancements such as the Green Revolution saw that this
So basically what this is talking about is how advancements that are so big, right, can cause certain issues that occur, right? And yeah, you guys can watch this with me. This shit's going to be very, very fucking mind-blowing because I want you guys to understand the psyops, the way that I look at shit, because I don't look at this stuff like a low IQ idiot. I'm not sitting here and saying, this is the Messiah. He knows everything because he's successful. That's what this guy was saying, like way earlier that I exposed. It's like, bro, like, what the fuck? Like, no, just because he has a 3-digit body count doesn't mean he's the fucking Messiah and you listen to him. You got to understand, people are put in as plants. This guy, Clavicular, think about how he blew up. Think about it. He blew up in a very, very quick span of time and became a national sensation, started jumping on podcasts. He was literally, there was something that funded him to get there. He didn't just get there by chance. This was all a fucking planned psyop, I promise you. And down the line, you guys will literally say Martel was right because that's always what the fuck happens. But I'm telling you guys right now, this
didn't come about. The Neo-Malthusians acknowledged his concerns about overpopulation and feared that this pattern would result in the collapse of civilization or, at best, have extreme adverse effects. These fears were given a platform in writing of the time, especially in works such as William Folkt's Road to Survival in 1948, and perhaps most famously, Silent Spring by Rachel Carson in 1962. Before the movement's explosion of popularity in the 50s and 60s, however, researchers had already begun work investigating the effects of population growth, and among them was a man named John B. Calhoun. Born in 1917, Calhoun took an
motherfucker's physiognomy, which means his facial structure, if you guys don't know, completely looks like a deranged animal, bro. Like, you don't trust people with certain physiognomies the way that they look, bro. The way that they look exposes who they truly are. I'm telling you guys this from literally, I've studied this shit. Now, what's interesting about this is this has to do with population overgrowth, right? Which is what we're going through right now. But we also have a population decline, and there's something where the elites want the population to decline massively. And the way that they're going to do this is by psyoping you into different shit, aka the jab, right? Which actually decreases fertility, aka Looksmaxxing to this extreme, which also decreases fertility. Clavicular has zero sperm production right now. Zero. He cannot have children. Probably will never be able to have children. He's accepted it. This is what a lot of guys are going to fall into. Again, incel culture. This is why he's blowing up. Incel culture is big. You guys know I'm big against incels and gym cells, right? Anything that goes against reproduction of society, I'm against. This shit goes against reproduction of society when you take it to this extreme. And there's a reason why it's being
early
pushed.
interest in science, specifically ornithology, publishing his first paper on birds when he was 15, but over time, his interest would change. By the time he received his PhD, his focus had turned to ethology, the study of animal behavior. When his education was concluded, he moved with his family to Towson, Maryland, to begin research at Johns Hopkins University in nearby Baltimore, but the limiting condition being their restriction to the quarter-acre living space. He affectionately provided his enclosure a name, Rat City.
So again, this goes back to what's going on in society right now, right? There's a big thing around just the enclosure and closing the borders and making everybody basically secluded to the point where, and look at COVID, right? When COVID happened, when that whole situation occurred, everyone was locked in their own house. It was a fucking experiment. They're doing the same experiment with people right now, like secluding you, making you socially anxious to where you don't even want to go out anymore, making you hate people, making you hate women, like all of this shit is by fucking design.
Fortunately, no publicly available images of Rat City exist. Calhoun was very familiar with Norway rats, having performed research on them for his doctorate, and he estimated that Rat City could sustain approximately 5,000 individuals, though if they reached this number, the population density would be tight. He began by placing 5 pregnant females in the enclosure, providing ample genetic diversity, and soon the population was increasing exponentially. But then something surprising happened. Rather than the population increasing to fill the space of the enclosure, it quickly leveled off at 150 members. He also noted some behavioral peculiarities. Despite the large size of Rat City, the residents seemed to gather around just a few places, forming social groups of 12 and limiting themselves to specific feeding locations. He would conclude the experiment after 2 years and 4 months, during which the population never grew over 200. Careful observation revealed the cause: high infant mortality. For some reason, as the experiment progressed and the population increased, the mothers were not caring for their young properly, leading to most of them dying before.
AKA what's going on in society right now. A bunch of single mothers not really caring for their sons as much because they care about themselves and they want the freedom. And now you have a new generation of men who essentially are fucked mentally, right? Because they didn't have the nurturing that a mother should be able to give them. You see this shit in real time, you know, no fathers in the house, shit like that.
Reaching maturity. Calhoun had his theories as to why this was, but to prove them, he would need more. In 1954, about 5 years after his initial, where he performed numerous smaller scale and more controlled versions of his original rat study on a domesticated strain of albino Norway rat.
Motherfucker look like clavicular.
These rats would want for nothing. All physical needs for a healthy rat lifestyle would be provided for them, including food, water, climate control, and
Look at clavicular. That boy clavicular reincarnated.
nesting material. Calhoun spent 8 years perfecting his enclosures and methods until finally, in February 1962, an article of his writing was published in the magazine Scientific American. The article was entitled Population Density and Social Pathology. His opening paragraph ominously reads so, quote, "In the rated thesis of Thomas Malthus, vice and misery impose the ultimate natural limit on the growth of populations. Students of the subject have given most of their attention to misery, that is, to predation, disease, and food supply as forces that operate just the size of a population to its environment. But what of vice? Setting aside the moral burden of this word, what are the effects of the social behavior of a species on population growth, and of population density on social behavior?" Unquote. To answer this question, he cited 6 of his experiments in particular, all with similar composition and concerningly similar results. The design of these habitats was simple. The layout was a rectangle measuring 10 feet by 14 feet, divided into 4 equal sections by electric fences. 3 of the fences sported bridges over which the rats could climb, while 1 fence lacked such a bridge, essentially.
Again, this is like city grids, right? Why are cities built in grids? This is literally a rat experiment we're going through right now with society.
Creating one long space that wrapped in on itself. Each section was equipped similarly, with a food hopper, water, and nesting areas accessible by spiral staircases. But Calhoun, leveraging his experience with the rats, made special changes to encourage specific behaviors. He enticed the rats to use one of the center pens by making the spiral staircase to that pen's living spaces shorter than the others, though he admits this was a comparatively small factor. But the more insidious change was to their food supply. In half of the experiments, Calhoun supplied powdered food, but in the other half he placed feeders of his own design, consisting of hard pellets behind a wire mesh. Half of his experiments began with 32 mice, the other half with 56, of evenly male and female composition, and all having just reached maturity. Calhoun estimated that approximately 40 rats could comfortably be housed in these enclosures, but he would allow these populations to increase to 80 before he would cull them. Almost immediately after introduction, things began to go awry. The females, unsurprisingly, spread themselves out somewhat evenly through the pens, but after the males jockeyed for dominance and those of highest rank were determined, they began to distribute themselves strangely. Less dominant male rats will typically awaken earlier and begin to wander and forage for food, and due to the design of the pen, this meant that they usually would end up in the center sections to eat. During this time, the dominant males of the outer pens would wake up and begin guarding their respective territories.
Now, I've said this in previous videos, right? He who has the most energy fucking wins. to be a dominant male, which I know a lot of you guys want, which is why you follow me, which is why you listen to me. You want to be dominant, you want to have power, you have to have a lot of energy, and you have to have the drive to be able to go get shit when other men are lazy. 99% of men are lazy. 1% of men actually go out and get shit. This is a clear example of that happening in this little rat experiment.
Since there was only one entrance ramp to either end, the dominant males of either pen would bar the return of the less dominant males, forcing the male population to clump in the center pens, while the dominant end males protected what came to be their harems. Only a few other deferential males were allowed to remain. These few remaining males began exhibiting odd behavior. Though they would spend most of their time in the burrows with the females, hiding away from the dominant male, they would never attempt to mate with any of them. Instead, perplexingly, they would try to mate with the dominant male, and even more perplexing, the dominant male would not fight these attempts. At the same time as this was happening, the effect of Calhoun's special feeders was taking hold. Since procuring food was such a lengthy process at the hard food feeders, it was common for one rat to join another while in the process of feeding. By this method, the rats slowly became conditioned to eating in the company of other rats until...
Again, making food harder to get makes a different behavioral change. Right now, food is in surplus. You can get that shit anywhere. So isolation is encouraged. Right? Because yeah, you can just go order food from Amazon. You can go order food from Uber Eats. You don't need to go anywhere and see anybody. You only see the delivery guy, and that's it. What does that do to your social conditioning? It makes you an incel by definition. Like, you literally just want to stay by yourself. You don't want to interact with any women. You don't want to interact with anybody, which is why a lot of men are mentally just out of it right now.
Eventually, the rats would refuse to eat unless another rat was present. Since more rats tended to be in the center pens, this behavior meant that, over time, more and more rats made their way there, further condensing them. This heightened the proximity of an already cramped population. In the experiments with the powdered food, this effect was far less pronounced. With these factors combined, Calhoun noted what he called a behavioral sink, or an increase in pathological activity in the rats due to the stress involved in such high population density. For the females, the behavioral sink manifested in reduced capacity for nest building and young rearing. Infant rats are extremely dependent upon their mothers for nearly all things. However, under the effects of the behavioral sink, the mothers would often be interrupted in their nest building practices to engage in some other social activity. As time wore on, this led to sparser nests which could not house the young properly. If a mother decided to move her litter, she often would only move some of them or scatter them about the pen in separate locations. What's more, when female rats are ready to mate, the males can sense it, and the enclosed space meant that a female could not escape the continuous advances of the males during these periods. Even when they would enter their nests for a reprieve, they would be followed in and harrowed. These factors together resulted in an extremely high infant mortality rate, in one case reaching 96%. For the males, this manifested in different ways. The dominant males would occasionally lash out in violence against the other members.
Hey, why that look like me though? Why is the dominant male darker, huh? I want to know. No, I'm playing with y'all. This is funny.
Of the pen, including infants, often biting and wounding their tails. Among the lower class males were three groups. The first he described as the homosexuals, which he immediately corrects as pansexuals, who would
let me see this group
not compete for status.
That boy clavicular, bro.
But would often attempt to mate with any other rat, regardless of gender or age. Much like in the end pens, these advances went unchallenged.
Homosexuality, right? Is this not what the pipeline is to incel behavior? Is this not the pipeline? Judging other men on their looks, saying this man's attractive, not talking to any women because you think all women are bad, getting to a point where like now you're watching porn. And then all of a sudden you get hit with this gay porn that you've never seen before, but then you keep watching that shit and then you watch it over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden you start to get conditioned and then you start to have those weird things. I believe that's what a lot of men go through behind closed doors. I remember Sneeko was even saying he used to watch gay porn. It was fucking crazy. I'm like, bro, what? Like, the porn is a pipeline, bro. All of this shit is a pipeline to exactly what they want. Homosexuals walking around, not being able to reproduce. Because obviously you need a female to reproduce.
Second group he described as somnambulists, who moved slowly through the pen without interacting with other individuals in any fashion, and the other rats, in turn, ignored them except in rare circumstances. These rats, externally, he described as fat, sleek, and healthy looking. But to him, the strangest group was the third, which he named the probers. These rats were hyperactive, hypersexual, and pansexual. Despite violence from the dominant males, they
Bro, why he look like why I don't see a brown rat doing all this weird shit? Why all the white people in here, man? I'm just making jokes, right? Y'all can clown on black people all you want. I don't give a fuck, but this is actually fucking hilarious, bro. This is actually fucking hilarious. Like, why?
would viciously pursue females in heat, eschewing any sort of courtship ritual and following them into their burrows to mate. Later on in the experiments, they would often find the corpses of the improperly cared for young, which they would cannibalize. In time, one of Calhoun's assistants would publicly describe these pens as hell. At this point, Calhoun ended the experiments, but he predicted that these pathological changes would have eventually led to the deaths of the colonies. At their conclusion, he would take the 4 healthiest males and females and allow them to breed, but their behavior had been so inexorably altered that none of their pups survived beyond weaning.
Here's how developers.
Man, we got a rat in this motherfucker. We got a group A rat. Skip. I'm cooking, bro.
This short article enraptured its US audience, and the effects on both the scientific world and popular culture were immediate. People began to relate Calhoun's rat experiments to modern city life, and in an era where fear of social deviance was reaching an extreme high, it was largely seen as a reflection of the current time and where society could be heading, egged on by Calhoun's provocative language and allegorical design of his test environment, made to look like a city. Population density quickly became a common topic. Psychologist Carl Rogers, in his work Some Social Issues Which Concern Me, stated that, quote, "The resemblance to human behavior is frightening. In humans, we see poor family relationships, the lack of caring, the complete alienation, the magnetic attraction of overcrowding, the lack of involvement which is so great that it permits people to watch a long, drawn-out murder without so much as calling the police. Perhaps all city dwellers are inhabitants of a behavioral sink."
Yeah, we got into a point where like someone could really be killing someone right now, and people just take out their phones and record. They won't call the police. It's fucking insane.
Unquote. Soon after, studies of dense urban environments were conducted to see if these effects translated directly to humans, but what they found was inconclusive and unsatisfying. Despite the suggestions of Calhoun's rats, humans in cities reacted differently or sometimes opposite the manner that researchers expected, depending on the location. No matter how they tried, no evidence of a widespread behavioral sink could be found in urban areas. But this did not dissuade Calhoun. Even as others explored the problem of overcrowding, Calhoun frantically continued his research. Now a celebrated success and emboldened by the public acceptance of
These motherfucking rats.
ideas, he resumed his work at NIM on an even larger scale, though again away from the public eye.
This is where it
He
gets
spent
wild,
his time
guys.
on
I
new
haven't watched this
subjects
yet.
as he continued to perfect his enclosures and experiments until finally, after 11 years, Calhoun revealed his magnum opus through an article he entitled Death Squared, which was published in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society of Medicine in January of 1973. The lengthy opening to this article was undeniably apocalyptic. Calhoun wrote, "I shall largely speak of mice, but my thoughts are on man, on healing, on life and its evolution. Threatening life and evolution are the two deaths, death of the spirit and death of the body. Evolution, in terms of ancient wisdom, is the acquisition of access to the tree of life." Unquote. He goes on to heavily reference revelations and of the writers of the apocalypse, using them to proclaim that the Hippocratic Oath applies not only to the body, but to the spirit. After this dramatic introduction, he described his test. For the most part, these new experiments were similar to his 1963 trials, including unlimited access to food and water, protection from the elements and predators, and safeguards against disease. Many parts, however, were drastically altered. As Calhoun mentions in his introduction, the Norway rats used in his first publicized experiments were replaced with albino house mice, which were taken from a breeding group from the National Institutes of Health made specifically to prevent communicable disease. To fit his new subjects, Calhoun had designed an entirely new enclosure. This version was much more vertical, with
is
16
where it gets
wall-mounted housing areas for the rats at the tops of long metal tubes, which Calhoun called walk apartments. At the bottom of each apartment was a virtually unlimited supply of food, water, and nesting material. With the space provided, Calhoun estimated that it could potentially hold 3,840 mice. He named this enclosure Universe 25. Calhoun's methods also had changed. Rather than instituting population controls, he would interfere far less. His plan was to place 8 mice in the enclosure, 4 male and 4 female, and simply watch and wait. Calhoun observed 4 distinct phases in the ensuing experiment. Phase A was predictable, constituting the time period before the first new mice were born, which ended up being 104 days. For the mice, these days were, quote, marked by considerable social turmoil. After the social order was established and the first brood was born, the population began Phase B, which Calhoun named the exploitation phase. During this time, the mice doubled in number every 55 days as new young grew to maturity and had their own young. This doubling continued until day 315, after which the doubling rate slowed to a rate of 145 days, nearly 3 times as long. By this point, the different broods had clumped into one side of the pen, exhibiting the same sort of clumping as the Norway rats, but this time without any coaxing from Calhoun's designs. This change in the rate of procreation marked Phase C, which Calhoun labeled as the stagnation phase.
This is the phase that we're in society right now, I believe. Stagnation. We are in stagnation right now.
This is when the most notable events occurred, and they eerily mirrored Calhoun's rat experiments. In a natural setting, those mice which find no social niche will leave the colony, but in this experiment, emigration was impossible, and so those forced to remain withdrew from society. These dejected males formed a large pool in the center of the enclosure. They quickly became characterized by both their inactivity and their many scars and wounds. Occasionally, they would grow agitated and attack one another, and with nowhere to retreat, the recipient of these attacks would simply lay still and endure the assault. The outcast females, rather than joining them, would retreat to the highest apartments and live.
So separation, right? Separation, males getting frustrated, right? Starting to attack other males. Now we don't attack physically, we attack socially, right? We attack online. You see all these incels attacking other people, shit like that. It's the same fucking
Quietly among one another. It was during this time that the behavioral sync manifested, with mice gathering around specific food hoppers in large numbers, while others remained almost entirely untouched, showing how, again, the need for social interaction had become so intertwined with the need for food that the former had overtaken the.
By the way, I want to mention this, right? This guy said you're just hating. I'm not hating, right? I have no reason to hate. I'm married. I'm gonna have a kid next year. I would say I've attracted women like a good amount of point of my life. I've developed myself. I have no reason to hate. It's just commentary, right? It's literally just commentary. What's going on right now is purely commentary. No hate at all. Just observations. You can come to your own conclusions. Looksmaxxing is definitely the future, unfortunately.
Latter. The males who had won the initial fights also were placed under extreme stress. As more and more mice reached maturity from within and without, the leaders of the social groups continually had to patrol and defend their territory. Eventually, they reached the point of exhaustion and could not defend the females within their group. These females were therefore forced to defend the nest themselves, even when nursing their young, leading to generalized aggressive behavior.
Again, this is why females are aggressive now. This is why we have the type of females that all of you guys complain about, because they're forced to be more masculine because so many men are fucking feminine. It's just literally they have to be more masculine to fucking survive. Again, I'm not saying that the females that we have now, it's good that they're like that, but you have to understand they're like that because of men. Because we have the control. We have the ability to be able to be more masculine, to be able to allow for them to be in a feminine state. But we've relinquished that control and we fell off. And so now women have to pick that shit up and be more masculine, which are the women that most of us, we despise, right? We despise masculine women. We don't like them. Well, they're taking the role that we basically relinquished to them.
This aggression would inevitably be misdirected onto their young, who would be wounded by their mothers and forced to leave the nest before they were finished weaning. Much like the rats, the mother mice would also forget some of their young when moving from one nesting site to another. Due to the added stress of defending their territory, sometimes the mothers would reabsorb unborn mice in the womb, further reducing the fertility rates. Calhoun writes, "For all practical purposes, there had been a death of societal organization by the end of Phase C. Finally, there was Phase D, which Calhoun entitled the Death Phase. This phase was characterized largely by an entire generation of young who had been rejected by their mothers early and forced to leave the nest, and they were therefore unable to exhibit normal social behavior. This manifested in numerous ways. The females of this generation had far fewer children, and those that did have children lacked the maternal instincts necessary to raise them beyond weaning."
Does this not sound like modern society? Let's be real.
Calhoun goes on to describe the males of this generation. Quote, "Male counterparts to these non-reproducing females were..."
This is the point that I wanted to get to. This is the fucking, because I read this study, but I didn't watch this video. Listen carefully.
Were soon dubbed the beautiful ones. They never engaged in sexual approaches toward females, and they never engaged in fighting, and so they had no wound or scar tissue. Thus, their pelage remained in excellent condition. Their behavioral repertoire became largely confined to eating, drinking, sleeping, and
Look at clavicular, bro.
grooming, none of which carried any social implications beyond that represented by contiguity of bodies." Unquote. As the last mice with reproductive instincts aged beyond their fertility, Calhoun declared that the last male would die around day 1780 of the experiment, effectively rendering the colony dead as it would be unable to produce any more young. His present tense language implied that, when the article was published, the colony was still technically alive, though its final fate was practically sealed. Calhoun closed his article with a call to action. "For an animal so complex as man, there is no logical reason why a comparable sequence of events should not also lead to species extinction. If opportunities for role fulfillment fall far short of the demand by those capable of filling roles and having expectancies to do so, only violence and disruption of social organization can follow. Individuals born under these circumstances will be so out of touch with reality as to be incapable even of alienation. Their most complex behaviors will become fragmented."
It's literally what's going on with Gen Z right now and Gen Alpha. It's literally the exact same shit. Socially awkward people, man. I've seen some of the guys who are popular. You meet them in real life, you're like, bro, I'm literally talking to a fucking weird zombie, bro. It's really strange shit.
Acquisition, creation, and utilization of ideas appropriate for life in a post-industrial, cultural, conceptual, technological society will have been blocked. Just as biological generativity in the mouse involves this species' most complex behaviors, so does ideational generativity for man. Loss of these respective complex behaviors means death of the species.
That's crazy. So that's what's crazy about society right now. Everything was already tested. The same patterns you're starting to see with Looksmaxxing now blowing up, it's the same shit. Same shit.
But even as Calhoun was performing his research on mice, others had been at work applying his theories to humans. By this point, researchers had moved to more specific locations of overcrowding rather than the generalized location of cities, testing the effects on students in dormitories and patients at hospitals, but the most fruitful example they discovered was in prisons. Paul Paulus from the University of Texas wrote that prisons were the perfect place for this sort of study, describing the social interaction between inmates as intense, prolonged, inescapable, and realistic. The prison in the study also
Internet is prison, by the way, fellas, if you didn't know.
the closest analog to Calhoun's rat experiments, since the prisoners could not escape the company of others, even in their communal cells. There, they found connections between over-socialization and suicide, violence, psychopathy, and stress. After such studies, environmental psychologists began to discover the problem. They identified two different kinds of density: physical density and social density. Physical density was the amount of space per person, while social density was the number of individuals occupying a space. They found that social density was the much more important factor, as individuals in high social density were unable to control their interactions with others. Based on this research, human environments could be designed to at least partially mitigate these issues, allowing those living within them the privacy they needed to maintain healthy social interaction. Outside of scientific discourse, Calhoun's rhetoric has maintained its strength through the years, with different groups of all political persuasions bending his results to support their views on social degradation, however they may define it. Among more scholarly sources, Calhoun has been both lauded and criticized for his work. Those who support him cite his forward thinking about overpopulation, while those who deride him cite his misrepresentation of the actual social problems within cities, guiding discourse away from the true causes of societal discord. But no matter what those in the modern day think of his research, his influence on the way America views its cities is undeniable.
Crazy. So this is very interesting to even look at, right? Some of you guys, this shit went way over your heads. Some of you guys saw this and it was a bunch of jumble and you didn't understand it. And I made a very, very long tweet about this because it was very, very important. I'm on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. And I'll read you guys exactly what I said, how I dissected this whole thing so you guys can understand. Looksmaxxing is a psyop designed to destroy young men, and Clavicular was the plant who accelerated the collapse. I believe this shit wholeheartedly, and you're going to see it, right? The mouse utopia experiment. So the scientist that we just watched created paradise for mice. That's essentially the whole thing around it, right? And from there was infinite food. There was no predators. There was perfect conditions. And what happened? The mice went fucking insane. They started killing each other. They started leaving their kids. They started leaving all that stuff, right? And the beautiful ones emerged. That's what we're seeing right now, right? With Clavicular, the beautiful ones, right? The ones that are focused on Looksmaxxing. That's why Looksmaxxing is becoming a trend, because shit's too fucking easy right now. Shit's too easy. But we're so retarded to the point where we make things seem so hard. Like we make making money so fucking hard. We make getting up out of bed so hard because everything's so easy. That's the paradox around it, right? Mice who did nothing but groom themselves, right? Refused to mate or fight. You saw that. Just existed in narcissistic grooming loops until total extinction despite perfect conditions. Looksmaxxing is creating the same beautiful ones in young men, right? Let's say a guy discovers Looksmaxxing, gets told his worth is millimeters of bone structure he can't fucking change, so he has to go get surgery. Canthal tilt, hunter eyes, jaw width, all genetic shit, right? And all things that can change with behaviors that you do. All permanent, all outside of his control to a certain extent, but technology has made it in your control, which is the trap. Now he's trapped. Can't accept his face because it's subhuman, right? Can't change it because it's bone. So he starts to bone smash, right? So he enters the grooming loop, mewing 24/7, analyzing photos for phylos, researching surgeries he can't even fucking afford. You guys think you can afford these surgeries that Clavicular is doing? Like, let's be real, you can't. Think about it. Zero action on things he can actually control. Your fucking body, you can control that, but you're not even doing that. You haven't even maximized your physical potential. And now you want to just like do cosmetics and shit, right? 100% obsession with what he cannot control. Instead of lifting, building skills, talking to women, learning, getting better over time, he takes a shortcut. He's measuring everything that he literally cannot control, paralyzed by genetics while calling it self-improvement. Clavicular has essentially accelerated this process perfectly, right? Flooded the algorithm, making every young man feel genetically inferior. Created taxonomies, reducing humans to bone measurements, right? This is why the whole Looksmaxxing like ratings and shit like that. Sold the idea that a canthal tilt determines your life. The mouse utopia, the beautiful ones, groomed all day and refused reality, right? Reality is that shit doesn't fucking matter. Looksmaxxers analyze facial structure and refuse reality. Both lead to the same outcome. Paralysis, narcissism, removed from the gene pool. Again, Clavicular has damn near removed himself from even producing another version of himself because he wanted to max out his looks to sleep with women, but he can't have children with these women. So what the fuck is the point? You see how retarded that sounds? It targets men who need action most. Insecure young guys who should be lifting, building, approaching women, failing, learning. Instead, they're measuring everything that doesn't fucking matter, wondering if they're genetically doomed, the doomers, right? Black pill. Zero action, maximum anxiety. Perfect for removing men from competition. Perfect for removing. You guys that are all following this shit, you're gone from the competition. You're done. Done. Right? What actually matters? Train hard so you look powerful. Build something so you have resources. Talk to women so you develop skills and actually fucking reproduce down the line. Fail repeatedly so you build resilience. None of this requires perfect bones. It just requires action, right? So Looksmaxxing replaced action with analysis paralysis. Now young men have a perfect excuse. My canthal tilt is negative, so it's over. So shit, I have to go get surgery and fuck it up. Meanwhile, the average face guy with a good physique, right, who approaches women, gets everything while they debate jaw recession on forums. Clavicular gave them a perfect prison. Obsession with unchangeable factors disguised as self-improvement, right? Disguised as self-improvement. They're calling it their warden. They're calling their warden a hero while he farms engagement off their insecurity. Mouse utopia collapsed because mice obsessed over appearance, not function. Looksmaxxing does the same with this generation. You're not self-improving by measuring facial thirds. You're actually entering a doom spiral that makes you useless. The black pill is not the truth. It's not. It's not the actual truth. It's poison removing you from competition while you think you're being realistic. Train your body, build your skills, talk to women, fail, and learn. That's the path. Bone structure autism is the psyop keeping you paralyzed. Again, Clavicular did exactly what it was that he wanted to do, right? He weaponized insecurity at scale, and a generation is grooming themselves into irrelevance like mice who actually went extinct in that paradise. The game isn't bone structure, it's action. Looksmaxxing convinced you to stop acting while calling it optimization. That was the tweet that I made. And it's 100% facts, right? 100% facts. You do not need to do this shit. Looksmaxxing is literally just cosmetics. It's the same when a woman puts on all the fucking makeup in the world and she's still ugly. And when she comes home with the guy and she has to take off the makeup, her real self comes up. And she has to live with that shit. And her kids look completely different than her because it wasn't her to begin with. What she showed was not true. Looksmaxxing is literally just trapping you, right? This guy, ASAP Rex, let's look at it, right? Looks is everything. Personality, status, money doesn't matter. Clearly, you have not touched grass. You have not touched grass to actually understand reality. You've been on these incel forums. You've been watching all of these YouTube videos, and that is your reality. That's why you're where you're currently at. Most guys that I talk to never fucking touch grass. Whenever I coach guys, the number one thing I have them do is go out in person and actually get feedback loops. Too many of you guys aren't getting feedback loops. You're simply just watching videos and taking that as a feedback loop. The dopamine that you get from watching these videos is the feedback loop that you're getting, that what your worldview is correct. When you go touch grass, you realize all this shit is bullshit. All of it. All of it. And it's all about capability. It's all about capability. And I'll say this, Clavicular has a lot of capability because he's weaponized some shit and understands marketing. Most of what retarded people don't understand, that he's marketing. It's a funnel. It is a funnel to a bigger play, a pharmaceutical play. He's going to go on a generational run. And honestly, applaud to him. Applaud to him for doing that shit. Because he got his bag. But I also don't want, I don't want people who follow me to be retards. I don't. Yet he's still single. He's not single. I think he's in a relationship, but I don't know what that shit is. It's kind of weird. He literally injects her with shit. Like, it's weird as fuck. But that's what you guys want. You got to look at someone's life. You got to look at how they're living their life and say, is that what I want? To be smoking meth and shit like that? Come on. All that to be infertile? All that to not have children? That's what the fuck you're on? I don't give a fuck about my fucking jaw length and shit like that. I'll improve what I can improve. I'll brush my teeth twice a day, brush my hair, make sure I don't have too much acne. I've cleared that shit up. I used to have bad acne. I made sure I solved that problem. Haven't taken a fucking steroid unless you call some idiots call peptide steroids. They're not. They're fucking recovery tools. But I earned my stripes, and you guys need to earn yours. Don't shortcut this shit. All these guys are giving you shortcuts because that's what the fuck you're gonna buy. That's what you're gonna buy is shortcuts. That's literally what you're gonna buy is shortcuts. And it's interesting because, yep, but with all the stuff he's doing, wouldn't it mess him up in the long run? Drugs, surgeries, everything else. For now, he's good, but what about later on? He doesn't give a fuck about later on. Of course, he doesn't give a fuck about later on because he's here for now. He's here to capitalize on what it is that he has. I don't know if you're talking to me, ASAP. Like, I don't think you understand, bro. Like, I'm genuinely like, what I say, I've lived. Like, I'm not sitting here as a fucking loser talking to you guys. Like, I've won in pretty much damn near every metric. I have no reason to hate on anybody. And I think you will understand one day that all of this shit is fucking bullshit. It's marketing, the same way that all of you guys will finally understand that all of the influencers, shit, you can even throw me in there. They're playing a fucking game. Some are playing the game and you're benefiting from that game because they're giving you good information. Some are playing that game and you're losing in that situation because you're listening to a bunch of bullshit. There's playing the game the good way and there's playing the game just, I want to just take the resources from these fucking idiots. You know what I mean? Yeah, you will be old, lose your everything. Yeah, when I'm old, I plan on having children who can take over what the fuck I've been doing. That's it, right? Clavicular is literally like I'd love to meet the dude and just understand him. I think he has a very weird aura. I think he has very weird energy. I think again, you can't really tell his physiognomy because he's hiding it, right? But the reality is you guys are at a point where you need to focus on capability over everything. Go to the gym, get lean. It's the fucking easiest thing to do. Eat solid, healthy food. You'll get good looks. Yep, Hemo said it. Go get some fucking money. Stop giving people money by paying them attention. You understand? Pay attention. You're paying your attention. You're giving the wrong people money. And you're literally not doing what it is that you're supposed to do, which is going to get money, going to be capable, competent, and getting beyond this shit. Clavicular was groomed to do this shit. I'm saying this. There's somebody who said, "Oh, Clavicular, Aiden Ross funded him." Look who Aiden Ross is. I'm not gonna go deep into it. Understand who he's funded by. Understand what his entire fucking MO is. Just understand this shit. You guys aren't stupid. You're not. Some of you guys might be, unfortunately, but most of you guys aren't stupid. A lot of you guys watch this shit all the way through. That's how I know you're kind of smart because stupid people would get lost in this shit. They wouldn't even give a fuck. But again, you guys, I say this adamantly. I'm in a place where I have nothing to fucking gain from this video at all. For me, it's just commentary. I'm not trying to psyop you guys at all. What the fuck is the point of psyoping you guys? If I wanted to psyop you guys, I'd take this shit in a whole different way. I would be talking about Looksmaxxing now because it's a fucking trend. I'm sticking with my same message. You know what I mean? Like, and here's the thing. Here's what you guys don't realize. Clavicular is young, right? Clavicular is young. Clavicular is literally playing the game and he's winning the game. But you guys who are watching him, you're not winning the game. You guys are just casualties of the game. You go and you do fucking bone smashing and shit like that. So ASAP Rex, right? I like this because this is very interesting. I want you guys to debate me. I would love to get on a fucking debate with anybody. Where would you be without your looks, Martel? Little do you know, my looks were developed over time. Where would I be without my physique? That's a better question. Where would I be without that shit? Because realistically, I have not done the Looksmaxxing journey the way that people have done it. My looks have carried me through my life. Absolutely not. I was a fucking loser when I was in high school, when I was in junior high. I was a fucking loser. I was a skinny dork. I got zero attention from women. I was mad. I was irritated. And I went to the fucking gym. I trained. I read every book that I possibly can. And I just became smarter and I became better. I became better at, so I was a social fucking autistic little dork. Like I literally couldn't even talk to people, bro. I literally couldn't even talk to people. Nobody. I got zero respect. People made fun of me because I literally, the basketball team, I got cut. I was uncoordinated. People said genetically, there's no way, bro. Like you're not gonna grow. You're not gonna do this. You're not gonna do that. Still made varsity. Still ended up playing college ball just for a little bit, not too much. I got out because I realized that I was D3. I wasn't going anywhere. But I didn't come to this world with a silver platter, bro. I came from Brooklyn, New York, the fucking projects, all of that shit. And I was never winning like I am now. Bro, I literally used to, I was depressed. I had anxiety. All of this is why you guys follow me, because I used to be you. I used to be you, you know? And yeah, here's the thing, right? People are saying, oh, he's Tyrone. This guy's saying he's not Tyrone Max. I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. I don't. That's what's crazy about it. Tyrone Max, Looksmaxxing, like, oh, your looks are 7 out of 10 or 5 out of 10. Bro, I could be a 1 out of 10. I'll still run laps around most men, bro. It's a mentality that matters. And most of you guys, that's all you're missing is a mentality. The mentality of, I don't look at Andrew Tate. Good point, right? Andrew Tate, from an objective point of view, is not the most attractive guy in the world. But he maxed out his capabilities, though. He's doing better off than most of these guys. And you guys might think, oh, he fell off, and he's still rich, still bought a Pagani penthouse, still fucks. I mean, his choice of women is whatever. But it doesn't matter. You guys are caring about the dumbest shit. I had this incel who literally made an entire Reddit forum of me, of my looks and shit, and was like, oh no, he's a 4 out of 10. Look at his facial thirds and look at all this shit. And I was like, bro, I have sex every fucking day. You don't. I have everything I can want. I can go wherever I want. I can travel wherever I want. I'm too busy to even be on social media. I'm only on social media to get content ideas. But there's a lot of you guys who focus on this look shit because that's all you have. That's all you fucking have in life, is the Looksmaxxing, debating with it. That gives you purpose. That gives you fucking purpose. Find a better one. It's actually homosexual to focus on another man's looks. I've never see the thing that's interesting. There's the male gaze and the female gaze, right? A lot of you guys are so focused on the male gaze. What is this guy gonna rate me? What is this fucking incel anon gonna rate me online of my face? I need to improve my face. You're not improving your face for women. You're improving your face for other guys. Women don't give a fuck about that to a certain extent. Yeah, you got to look like you have shit put together so you don't look sloppy, so you don't look like a fucking loser. You got to be in shape. All of that is just signaling competence and just capability. That's what you guys don't realize. It's all capability. When you have acne all over your face, which I used to have, that's signaling that I'm incapable of controlling my fucking hormones. Which, again, a woman is not attracted to a man who's not capable. That's just the facts. But again, all of you guys have to understand that shit, because you guys are gonna keep going through the same circle. The next influencer is gonna come out and give you guys some bullshit that you guys are gonna follow. There's gonna be a new influencer coming every single year, and it's all by fucking design. It's all by design. And yeah, he said I have interesting views. I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't think they're interesting. I just think they're just realistic. Like, I'm just telling you what it is. Here's the thing, right? Hemel, you asked this question. Martel, beard or goatee? What do women like? For future reference, I think girls my age like goatees. Bro, get what it is that you want, bro. Get what it is that you want. I've gone with no fucking hair on my face. Thought I looked like a kid, still attracting women, older women, younger women. Doesn't even fucking matter. I have this fade now. This is what I like. I used to have a bigger beard. I just do what I want. There's guys who are like, bro, you would be way more. This is gay, by the way. You'd be way more attractive if you grew your hair. Bro, I'm not doing this shit for you. I'm not looking like this for you. I'm looking like this for me, first of all, and for my wife that I have. You know, get what you want, bro. Get what it is that you want that will make you feel the most confident. Women are attracted to confidence, bro. Clavicular, I don't know if he has confidence or not. From the camera perspective, he does. But I mean, again, this is all facade. It's all facade, fellas. But I got a client call coming up in like 3 minutes. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys learned something. Some of you guys will hate me. That's all good. That's part of the game. But I got to give you guys the real. Hemel, you're good, bro. I appreciate you. You're one of my loyal subscribers that I actually fuck with a lot, bro. Like you'll get to a point, bro. You're literally about to be 19. You're gonna be good. You know what I mean? You're gonna be good. Let me see. I stay in the gym and do more Thai. I don't give a fuck about what other dudes think about me because they won't say that to my face or squabble with me. I mean, yeah, shit. Fire. I mean, let's see. This is a good one. Would you have your wife if you weren't Tyrone maxed? I don't know. Probably not. But I didn't fucking I didn't hammer a bone to my face at all. And if you guys can do the stalking online and go find my Facebook. I didn't look like this shit when I was 16, 15, 14. I looked like a fucking dork. I get embarrassed looking at myself back then. But it was all for a purpose though. You know? Let's see. I have seen many men who are not the tallest or the best looking, but you can tell that they are capable guys with a family and a feminine wife. Facts. That's the whole goal that we want as men. We want feminine women to basically commit to us. That's all that matters. I don't give a fuck about an incel rating me on a forum. That gives me more marketing shit. That guys hit me up probably from that forum asking for me to help them out. The hate is good, guys. That's what you guys don't understand. Like, all you're doing is you're just giving more marketing. There's some of us that look at all this shit like it's a fucking game because it's a game. You play the game, you win the game. You win the game through dividing people. Hate, people who hate you, people who love you. All right, let me see. I got 1 more minute. Let me answer this real quick. Does the way to a person's desire of success, the boring, let me see. Does on the way to a person's desire of success, the boring phase of staying consistent and constant back and forth, sin the head normal? I don't know what that means. I think in the head normal. Yeah, it's yeah, the boring phase is normal. The constant going back and forth is normal. 100%. Looks are overrated. I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, to be honest, everything that becomes your sole personality is overrated. Everything. Religion, if religion is your sole personality, it's overrated, it's fucking lame. If looks becomes your personality, you're fucking lame. If even physique, even if your muscles become your personality and you become the gym bro, the gym cell, you're fucking lame. Be well-rounded. Get all the shit done step by step. Knock down everything. That's what I did. Like I said, I'm not coming to you guys like King 6'8", where like I'm 6'7" and I've been a fucking Chad my whole life, or Tyrone, whatever you guys want to call it. Like, no, bro. No, I was a fucking dork. But I finally understood what really mattered. And shit changed. But I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna hop off. Hopefully this was a good stream for you guys. I don't do this often because I don't have too much time to do it, but I will try to do more of these as I see certain things, certain trends pop up, and dissect it for you guys in a way that you probably haven't heard before. So appreciate you guys. Massive love for all you guys, and I will catch you guys on the next stream. And no,